Hello and welcome to a Torpid cast. A little bit different today. I've got to get another free cast out this morning for the next 2 weeks and this week. I'm recording this on the 5th of January at 4 AM in the morning, prior to a grand adventure 4 hours south in my country on the lovely British Railway. And I'm tired. But I don't want to miss weeks, because the YouTube algorithm hates when you miss weeks. So on that note, and for my dedication, for which I earn absolutely no money, and nobody likes me, I think I deserve some comments, because comments actually boost your status on the YouTube algorithm, so that all those fiendish Indrid viewers, of which there are truly billions, can actually discover my channel, and perhaps get good, and then perhaps one day provide a challenge against me and similar high-level players. But for now, we have a game between Adila and Retribution. And it's going to be a nice calm game, though Rectum Necrosis is also known as Piano. Perhaps whilst he feels a need to play the PC, he calls himself Rectum Necrosis. That would be quite fitting, I suppose. And Piano is known for his rage, so hopefully he doesn't get too ragey in this game, because it might ruin the vibes. As we can see, the guardsmen are hugging the garrisons that are very common on this map, making the heretics basically useless against them. The heretics can only pose a threat against the guardsmen once they're in the garrison, if they choose to upgrade to the grenade launchers. But there's a lot of different power purchases that you might want to make as a Plague Champion against the Imperial Guard. We do see the first choice as the really fast Havocs. Now that they arrive on the front lines of the combat, forces off the initial push from Adila. Not before Adila managed to get a generator though. Bit of a cheeky flank from those heretics. Sentinel deters them well, nice stop. Then gets out of there. Similarly, the Lord Commissar finishes his decap on the VP and then he retreats too. Heretics going in for a little bit of a retreat kill attempt, but unsuccessful. Dropping models left, right and centre. But I suppose that is the way of the heretic, is it not?
A power node, roger. Strategic point spotted here.
So relatively even so far. VPs are not too far apart. Map control is slightly in favour of Rectum Necrosis, but not massively, especially given the node present here. Heretics are working on that though. Plague Champion has been dedicated to dealing with the guardsmen, but whilst he is out of cover, he's not going to be able to be very successful in the matter. Raptors are en route, and the Sentinel is getting a little bit too close to the Havocs, but the Cadishans are there to support the Sentinel. Cadishans are going for a bit of a flank now. Havocs need to be aware of it. It appears the Guardsmen did successfully force off the Plague Champion, but they themselves needed to retreat. And this leaves Rectum Necrosis in a decent position to gain the majority of the map. Nice snipe of a model there from the Cadishans, but now the Raptors have jumped onto them and they're in a little bit of a dubious position with the Havoc setting up behind them. A heavy bolter firing into your back is not really something you want as a human being. Quite deadly indeed. We see the relatively ubiquitous power sword purchase on the Lord Commissar is here. using that lead by example ability to not only proc the battle cry effect, but to buff his speed, so that he can flank the Havocs easier, get rid of them. Sentinel path blocked a little bit by his own Guardsman, only able to stun one single Raptor model with the stomp there. Guardsman actually in a bit of a dubious position here. If the Raptors can get a few good bomb pistol shots off, that might be the end of the squad. No, the Sergeant is slightly out of range. Commissar has managed to get out of the action relatively safe, and now Necrosis is just pressuring the Sentinel. Quite a strong start from Rectum Necrosis, I shall say. Adila not too far ahead in terms of economy, given the fact that he is one squad down. That said, one must remember that Rectum Necrosis is rocking 2 default Heretic squads. Oh, actually, he has an Aspiring Champion in this one, so that's not too bad actually. I was going to say 2 default Heretic squads, not the most expensive or combat effective squads. Perhaps only 0.5 of the value of the rest of the squads that are in the game at the moment. But the Aspiring Champion will certainly make up for that. And the other one is only being used with the 4 models to reduce the overall impact of the upkeep, just used as a capping unit.
Glory is loyalty perfection.
Heretics have to be careful not to overextend here. They don't want to get involved with that many lasguns. Of course, the Sentinel will just stomp them. Lord Commissar gets a decap over here, but is promptly forced off. Perhaps not the best use of the Lord Commissar there. Decent Sentinel position. Manages to stomp the Havocs, but not really taking much damage. And now the combination of the Havocs as well as the Raptor jump promptly forces off the Guardsman. Good awareness not to immediately back off the Sentinel. Not necessarily needed in this instance. Oh, we actually see a heavy weapons team. That's something new. And we see Cadishans at Rectum Necrosis' gen farm. Okay, so they're going to probably trade some generators. You see Filespiel Bershers. And Havocs have actually took the garrison here. That's quite brutal. That looks like it will be the end of this generator farm. You need to be careful not to overextend the Raptors. It would be very useful to keep them in the fight, but it appears that Rectum Necrosis has done. You see some Aspiring Champion Heretics and the CSM transitioning back to the east in order to deal with these Cadishans who have actually decapped the power point. Oh, you see a defensive usage of the Touch of Nurgle, not something you see very often. No ability usage from the Cadishans, which is slightly peculiar. And the defensive usage of the Touch of Nurgle proves worthwhile because he manages to avoid losing his entire farm and instead can actually manage to cap it back up himself. Should be very beneficial. Had Adila managed to successfully defend his farm, rebuild his generators and capture a node Rectum Necrosis, Rectum could be in a dire position. So it appears that the mines on retreat actually wiped out the Plague Champion. Adila appears to be a big fan of mines, as far as I have gathered from watching his games. Still a pretty decent start for Rectum Necrosis. As you can see, a dominating VP lead and dominating map control from him, as well as having an even number of units on the field.
Roger, sir.
Lord Commissar putting in work like only the Lord Commissar can, holding up most of the army. Might be useful to get that flag check in. Perhaps the Bionic Eye would be good as well, in order to buff up those Cadishans, allow them to counter-initiate the Raptors a lot more effectively. Here are said Cadishans, let's see what they can do. Plasma guns coming in and immediately picking up and killing the Raptors.
Losing.
Plague Champion appears to be stuck in his own shit, which the Cassians are going to punish by beating him down. Actually managing to kill Cassian in melee there, thanks to having the Battle Spewer. But unfortunately, the Plague Champion goes down again. Pretty awful position there for Piano, losing his Plague Champion twice in a very short period of time there. Definitely setting him back quite a lot. That would be an additional 500 requisition that he would have to field new units had he not lost those Plague Champions. It's going to become influential now that models are starting to bleed, having to buy the Aspiring Champion on the CSM, having to potentially reinforce Havocs, Raptors and Plague Marines.
Generator coming up.
Speaking of, Plague Marines are now on the field. They could be very influential in dealing with the Sentinel. The lack of map control for Adila seems to be really hurting him at this point. He doesn't really have a very commanding economy, very lacking in requisition, and actually now outnumbered by the Chaos. Could be some merit to getting some Grenade Launcher Heretics on your default Heretics. You can at least support from the sidelines using their barrage ability. We see the reason for the lack of requisition is fully invested in his Guardsmen. 2 Sergeants, 2 Commissars, and 2 Plasma Gun upgrades. Raptors jumping on the heavy weapons team, that's going to force them off. Heretics, quite unfazed by the Plasma, charging straight in, de-blasting the Guardsmen and causing them to soft retreat. Usage... Oh, that was a bit dire, wasn't it? Using the touch of Nurgle on some default heretics, and thanks to the change in the elite mod, once one touch of Nurgle explosion is triggered, no subsequent triggers will happen for X amount of time. So one timely special attack from the Lord Commissar instantly takes off 90% of the HP of the squad, in spite of that touch of Nurgle usage. Quite brutal. An absolutely appalling series of engagements for Rectum Necrosis.
Strategic point spotted here.
And now, how things have changed. Map control completely dominated by Adila. But decent units with good scaling from Rectum, and a commanding VP lead that he can utilize. To cause a comeback. Actually using the Plague Marines to just clear the minefield here, I think. That's a comical usage of Plague Marines, but a appropriate one. Of course, don't really care about these mines, and with their vast natural HP regen, they're very quickly going to shrug off any damage that the mines impact them with and get back to full fighting effectiveness. Raptors currently unable to jump the heavy weapons team due to their lack of energy. Let's have a look at the economies. Rectum Necrosis surprisingly close to being able to go tier 3, just lacking in power at this point. The Power Bash that Adila managed to get off earlier on has been quite impactful here. They're really demonstrating the power of Power Bashes. And we do see the Bionic Eye as well, actually being used more for map control here than much else, knowing that the Cassians will be completely effective against the Aspiring Champion Heretics, even with only 6 models. Using the Bionic Eye to get that speed buff and send them to capture the natural VP a lot quicker than they otherwise would have. A fairly unconventional choice here by Rectum Necrosis to go for the Blood Letters. Not very common against Imperial Guard due to their high amounts of piercing DPS, which generally are regarded as a good counter to Bloodletters. And Bloodletters, of course, have power melee, which again is a lot less effective against Imperial Guard than against other races like Space Marines. Still, if they can get into melee combat, they will absolutely dominate. And they will slaughter Guardsmen. Raptors actually managing to pick up the kill on the heavy weapons team here. Raptors would do well to engage the Guardsmen to prevent any retreat, execution, cancelling shenanigans like so. Bloodletters might be purchased in an effort to deal with the Lord Commissar. Bloodletters are generally regarded as a melee superiority unit primarily, and secondarily a setup team counter / jump unit. Bloodletters might actually be able to pick up the Lord Commissar retreat here. They do, and now they are among the Guardsmen, who have nothing nearby to support them. The Lord Commissar with his battle cry-like ability, no Catechins with shotgun blasts, and no Sentinel with a stomp. And so, what happens? The Guardsmen are forced to retreat. The game is slowing down a little bit at this point. The economic harassment that both players are able to impact onto one another is becoming quite powerful. Rectum Necrosis would do quite well to replace some of his generators at this point in the game. He's recovered surprisingly well from his losses earlier on, and the purchasing of Bloodletters does not seem to have impacted him too much at all. Do note that his Plague Champion has been down ever since that second loss, quite early in Tier 2. Aspiring Champion Heretics doing a good job in detecting the IED placed over here, which the Plague Marines promptly destroy. But Adila has at this point managed to get to Tier 3. Rectum Necrosis finally banked up enough power to start the purchase himself, but it will take 90 seconds before he actually arrives in Tier 3. And then the question is, what's he going to get? Oh, decent usage of the Raptor jump there, nicely timed. Manages to suppress the Guardsman whilst being stunned. And now, of course, the Sentinel doesn't have any stomp, so these Bloodletters are going to cause some problems, especially doing a lot of damage to the Guardsmen and a lot of disruption as well. Whilst on their arse, they can't fire their guns, surprisingly.
Their advantage is meager. Reinforcements are here. As promised, victory point is ours. I am held down by fire here.
So the Lehman Russ is finally en route, and I think that's going to be essentially the decider of the game here. How well can Rectum Necrosis deal with the Lehman Russ? Will the Lehman Russ successfully push back the main force in the centre of the map and result in Rectum Necrosis losing his gen farm? If that is the case, one would have to expect that Rectum Necrosis will be the loser of this game. First cannon shot immediately annihilates a enemy Havoc. That's what we like to see for the Emperor.
Message received, sir.
Rectum is building up quite the stockpile of power at this point.
They may have us here, sir.
Could potentially get a tank of his own fairly soon. An interesting teleport bloodletters there. Bloodletters need to get out immediately.
Sir, our structure is targeted.
One bloodletter falling to the Lasgun firing retreat. Plague Marine's not really got enough HP here to stick around for too much longer. Fire rate on the default battle cannon of the Demon Russ is pretty piss poor though. A solid amount of splash damage on it though. Oh, and we see a Lascannon Havoc. We also see the Emperor's Wrath. Boom, boom, boom. Tier 3 upgrade for the Lord Commissar. Calls down 3 Basilisk rounds from off the map, each of which deal 150 Manticore rocket damage. If you do not retreat, that will wipe your setup teams immediately. We also see some very beautiful, shiny Chaos Terminators. And speaking of Manticores, Tier 3 Manticore being purchased. VPs are steadily evening out. Sentinel going to trot along, and I was going to say harass the bloodletters, but a bit of a perhaps just scouting for what's around here, as opposed to specifically going in for some attack round on the bloodletters. Lord Commissar moves along to tie up and eventually force off Lascannon. Plague Marines are snaring the Demon Russ, but not doing very strong amounts of damage. The Sentinel proceeds to stun the Raptors, which have jumped the Guardsmen to try and harass them. Though the Raptors at this point are leveled, so promptly can jump again. Terminators are going for the cap under some noble worship. But now the Manticore hits the field, and this might be a surprise for Piano. You may think that's merely a flare. Lot of damage done to the Chaos Terminators there. Absolutely brutal to see. Manticore proving useful already. Look how far back it is. Very far back. Guardsmen do get forced off, and we actually see a Executioner Demon Russ. That's pretty cool. Being very strong against the marine options that Rectum Necrosis has in the field here. Lord Commissar does go down a retreat, unfortunately, for Adila. But the Demon Russ is relatively unthreatened for now. Well, actually, Lascannon is back out on the field. This could be a very awkward position for Adila. Demon Russ now under gigantic amounts of pressure, hit by both the Plague Marine snare and the Lascannon snare. Not sure why the Plague Marines themselves aren't chasing after the Demon Russ. Dubious micro really from Rectum in this endgame. Manticore coming down again, brutalizing the heretics, damaging the shrine but not wiping it immediately. Havocs on the other hand do wipe. The power of the plasma cannon on that execution hit for us is too strong. Could it take down the shrines? Very powerful anti-infantry weapon. Not so effective when it comes to dealing with enemy vehicles. But that's the price you pay, and there are currently no vehicles on the field, but a lot of tanky, tough, heavy and super heavy infantry nurgling troops. So it makes sense. Rectum playing the VP game well though, using the Raptors to keep a hold of that side VP and touch of Noble on the Heretics to force off these Guardsmen. But do remember they can easily cancel their retreat, but there's not a lot of time for Adila. He needs to actually get a cap pretty quick. Oh gosh. Demonic Fury on the Lord Commissar because he didn't have his shield up. He gets sent flying. Guardsman needs to promptly move over and cap the natural VP. Where's the other Guardsman? The other Guardsman actually retreated back to the base. Adila, presumably feeling a little bit of panic at this point, and because they should have been executed in retreat and not fully forced off. Cadishans at this point are far too slow. Didn't get on the VP soon enough, and that's going to be the win for Rectum Necrosis. In spite of, at the end of the game, having far inferior military might, VPs are how you win in Dawn of War 2. So he takes it. What a delight, eh? Cool. So I guess that was a Torpid cast. I guess. Cast. Torpid cast. Rectum Necrosis. Adila. Torpid out.